Teresa recalls the scene where she was mocked for getting pregnant after a one-night stand with a stranger. In a daze, she overhears a nurse saying she has given birth to twins with birthmarks on their necks. When Teresa wakes up, she wants to see the children but is told they have passed away. But it turns out Tina control all. 5 years later, Teresa, who works in sales, wants to ask her boss John for her salary. However, John tries to take advantage of her. So she devises a plan to outsmart him. So she wonders how she can quickly get married. Menard's son Merle and daughter Diana are very anxious about his marriage. They threaten to leave home if he doesn't get married, prompting Menard to immediately send bodyguards after them. Teresa mistakenly thinks Menard is a human trafficker, so she splashes her bubble tea on Menard and questions why he wants to harm the two young children. At this moment, Merle and Diana also notice that Teresa looks very similar to their dream mother, and they happily run towards Teresa, hugging her legs and calling her mom. Teresa is shocked and only then realizes that it's all a misunderstanding. Merle introduces Teresa to Menard, hoping she will marry his father. Menard quickly takes the phone and leads them away. Teresa looks at the two adorable kids and remembers her own deceased child, prompting her to consider marriage. This surprises Menard greatly. At that moment, Warren appears and questions Teresa about maxing out his credit card. It turns out that Warren was pursuing Teresa, but hid the fact that he was married. Consequently, Teresa maxed out his card buying gifts for his wife. This misunderstanding leads Menard to think she is a materialistic person. Menard sends Merle and Diana away, deliberately acting poor to try to scare Teresa off. However, Teresa remains unfazed and is not influenced by his poverty. Faced with Menard's optimism, he finds her attitude quite remarkable. Menard is particularly hesitant about the idea of marriage. He worries that Teresa might mistreat Merle and Diana. However, they really like her and try all sorts of ways to persuade Menard. Finally, Menard agrees, which makes Merle very happy. However, his condition is that his identity as a billionaire must remain confidential. Merle and Diana have finally achieved their goal and are thrilled. Menard calls Teresa and informs her about the decision. Hayden is very surprised by Menard's sudden marriage, and worries that Teresa might just be getting close to Menard on purpose. On the other hand, her best friend Sandra is very angry about Teresa's sudden marriage. She is concerned about Teresa. However, it's the affection for these adorable kids that reminds Teresa of her deceased child. Suddenly, Menard receives a message that Teresa is going shopping at the mall, and he mistakenly thinks she is going to reveal her true intentions. However, Teresa only wants to buy gifts for the two children. At that moment, Merle and Diana spot a bracelet they want to gift to Teresa. Unfortunately, the salesperson mistakes them for being poor and mocks them. Menard intends to pay with his wallet but realizes he has forgotten it, which only adds to the salesperson's disdain. The manager takes Menard's business card, discovers he is a billionaire, and immediately decides to give the items they like to them, which surprises the salesperson greatly. After they leave, the salesperson curiously asks and realizes that Menard is a billionaire. Teresa is shocked by the pile of jewelry given to her for free, but Menard reassures her to wear it without worry. She kneels down, puts on the new safety lock she bought for Merle and Diana, and unexpectedly notices the birthmarks on their necks. This leads her to inquire about Menard, Merle, and Diana's background. Upon learning that Menard divorced their mother, Anna, who now resides abroad, Teresa's doubts are finally dispelled. Suddenly, Teresa receives a call from a real estate agent, and excitedly takes them to see the house they are preparing to move into. After viewing the house, Teresa is very pleased with the property recommended by the real estate agent. However, in order to negotiate with the agent, they pretend to be dissatisfied with the house. However, their comments anger the agent, who refuses to rent the house to them. Teresa feels a bit helpless. Merle accidentally lets slip that Menard has many houses. Menard quickly interrupts Merle and explains that Merle was joking. He mentions having another property to show, and Teresa happily goes along. Teresa is amazed by the spacious and comfortable new property. Menard makes an excuse, saying that due to his excellent performance at work, his boss is offering them this house at a discounted rent. Teresa is very happy and joyfully prepares a big meal. The four of them are happily bustling in the kitchen, enjoying the joy of cooking and continually growing closer to each other in the process. Menard tries to pick up some food, but is interrupted by Teresa. She suggests waiting until Merle and Diana finish eating, so she can make him a bowl of noodles with braised ribs. After the two children finish their meal, Teresa and Menard happily eat the noodles together. Menard is amazed by Teresa's cooking skills. Teresa also mentions her past. Menard sees Teresa's strength, which makes him cherish her even more. Merle and Diana wake up and sweetly declare Teresa as Cinderella and Menard as the prince, making them all laugh. Menard stops her from clearing the dishes, making her feel warm. Teresa is counting the shoe inventory in the warehouse when John behaves inappropriately towards her. Teresa wants to claim her commission, but John demands that she sleeps with him. Teresa tries to record John's misconduct on her phone. At that moment, Menard arrives just in time. He scolds John and threatens to teach him a lesson. After controlling John, Menard makes a phone call. Suddenly, John receives a notification that he has been fired, leaving him incredulous. Two troublemakers also enter, ready to confront the arrogant John. The series of events terrifies Teresa, but seeing Menard arrive, she finally relaxes and hugs him tightly. Teresa is also worried about her unpaid wages. Menard notices her distress and performs a little magic trick. Suddenly, Teresa's account receives the withheld wages. She is very happy. Hayden notices the scar on Menard's waist. He says that he could help remove the scar. Sandra mentions to Teresa about the one-night stand in the past, with Teresa only remembering the scar on the man's waist. Encountering each other in pajamas at home, they both feel a bit awkward. Surprisingly, Merle and Diana notice everything and plan to set them up. They rush out and hug Teresa, wanting her to sleep with them. Menard intends to persuade them, but Teresa agrees readily. Just as he is about to leave, Merle clings to Menard's leg, and seeing this, Diana also persuades Menard. Helplessly, he agrees. Finally, Menard and Teresa together soothe the two adorable children to sleep. After Menard and Teresa have fallen asleep, Merle and Diana quietly pull away one blanket, allowing Menard and Teresa to share a blanket together to increase intimacy. The next morning, Teresa wakes up. She gently touches his abs and unexpectedly finds the scar on his waist. Suddenly, Menard wakes up, making Teresa feel a bit shy. Menard realizes it was Merle's idea, but Teresa doesn't think much of it. She believes they are a legitimate couple. Merle and Diana enter. Teresa happily jumps up and takes them to brush their teeth. Menard realizes that the mattress at home is too hard, so he calls his assistant to arrange for a new one. He pretends to have found a mattress outside, which surprises Teresa. However, Merle and Diana notice the truth. Suddenly, Teresa notices his expensive watch, which leaves her puzzled. Menard quickly responds, saying the watch is a cheap replica. Teresa is amazed at how exquisite the imitation watch looks and asks Menard to get a few more for easy gifting. Teresa asks Merle and Diana to wait for her to finish work. Tina happens to visit the shoe store where Teresa works. Seeing Teresa, Tina deliberately brags about how her father, Park, treats her well, trying to provoke Teresa. Teresa initially wants to ignore Tina, but Tina stops her, demanding Teresa's service. Merle and Diana immediately inform Menard. Reluctantly, Teresa has to serve Tina respectfully, while Tina continues to make various demands, making things difficult for Teresa. The prices of the shoes are high, and although Tina doesn't intend to purchase them, Teresa shares a photo of Tina shopping for shoes in their class group chat. Feeling pressured, Tina reluctantly purchases the shoes. Tina even pushes Diana to the ground before leaving. Tina hears Diana calling Teresa mommy, and turns around to mock Teresa for becoming a stepmother. Mole's alertness helps Teresa notice the injury on Diana's hand. Teresa becomes very angry, and calls the hospital's emergency line. After hanging up the phone, Teresa grabs Tina's hair, and gets into a quarrel with her. Furious that Tina hurt Diana, Teresa mercilessly fights back against Tina. When Menard arrives, he is surprised to see Tina being dragged away in a sorry state. It turns out that Teresa has already given Tina a good lesson. Watching the three of them happily in the distance because of dealing with Tina, Menard can't help but smile. The assistant also assures that they will strengthen their protection to prevent such incidents. Upon Menard's arrival, Teresa feels guilty about Diana's injury. However, Menard doesn't blame Teresa. Not only that, Teresa admits to losing her job. Instead, he hands his paycheck card to Teresa, which makes her feel warm. Menard sees Teresa's design draft and suggests that she should try applying to YS Design Company. He believes Teresa has a special talent. This prompts Teresa to decide to submit her resume for a trial. Menard takes the opportunity to instruct his assistant to arrange for that. At this moment, Teresa receives a part-time job opportunity and happily heads over. Unexpectedly, Teresa and Menard coincidentally meet at the same dinner party, startling Menard, who spills wine on his pants. Teresa angrily escorts Menard away. She questions why he appeared at the dinner party, and Menard explains that he took on a part-time job to earn extra money to support his family. However, Hunter unexpectedly becomes physical with Menard, attempting to harm him and intending to intoxicate him with alcohol. Teresa is shocked by this and thinks Hunter is a bad person, while Menard appears somewhat guilty. Teresa wants to settle the score with Hunter. Menard immediately follows behind and signals to them. Teresa questions who Hunter is, and Menard silently points him out. Hunter feels extremely uneasy. Menard quickly signals to Hunter to help cover up the situation. After following the cue, Teresa picks up the nearby wine jug and drinks it all in one go. She intends to drink more but is stopped by Hunter and Menard. Teresa threatens that Hunter cannot bully her husband anymore and demands to be paid his part-time wages. Startled, Hunter complies and takes out a stack of money from his wallet. Menard is pleased with Hunter's cooperation and whispers to him that future collaborations can be smoothly formalized with a contract, leaving him surprised. The wine she drank is a high-proof white wine. Just as she is about to fall, Menard catches her. Menard tries to offer Teresa some water, but she ends up vomiting. He advises the tipsy Teresa not to drink anymore, but she misunderstands and grabs Menard's neck, kissing him. In that moment, Menard also feels a flutter in his heart from the kiss. Reluctantly, he releases the beautiful Teresa. However, Teresa suddenly faints, so he has to gently lay her down and then quickly call the driver. At that moment, a dog approaches, getting closer to Teresa, making her feel very helpless. The next morning, Teresa wakes up curious about why Menard prepared breakfast so thoughtfully. Menard tentatively mentions the kiss from last night, but Teresa mistakenly believes it was a dog that kissed her. Upon hearing this, Menard drinks the prepared sobering soup in one gulp and leaves, leaving Teresa feeling confused. Suddenly, Teresa discovers that she has been accepted by YS Design Company. She feels extremely excited, kissing Merle and Diana on their cheeks. However, Menard acts very disdainfully, and Merle exposes Menard's jealousy. That day, Menard gets ready to take Teresa to work. Unexpectedly, Mason also arrives to pick him up, surprising Teresa. Menard explains that Mason is his boss and insists that he can drop Mason off at work while also giving Teresa a ride. Inside the car, Mason sits in the back while Menard drives, making him feel very uneasy and embarrassed. Teresa happily starts her job at YS Design Company and introduces herself. Unexpectedly, Tina is also here. She deems her unworthy of working with her. Teresa fires back, saying she can resign anytime. Suddenly, the manager emerges and informs the department about an upcoming meeting. However, Kevin is dissatisfied with the proposal they presented. At this moment, Teresa confidently presents her even better idea. While Tina tries to belittle Teresa, Kevin wants to give her a chance. Teresa confidently takes the stage to introduce her design concepts and proposals, which impress Kevin greatly. Kevin looks at Teresa's proposal and curiously asks if her design inspiration comes from her love of red wine. In order to secure the collaboration, Teresa claims to have different vintages of red wine at home. The collaboration progresses smoothly, and they shake hands happily. Suddenly, Tina comes up with a mischievous idea, suggesting that they should go to Teresa's house for a celebration dinner tonight to taste the red wine. Teresa reluctantly agrees. Merle and Diana receive a call from Teresa. Teresa plans to come up with an excuse to avoid the visit when she gets home. so she instructs the children not to answer the door. Merle and Diana exchange a glance and decide to help their mom solve this problem. Merle directs the household staff to rearrange the rooms, filling the house with expensive red wine, exquisite china, and famous artwork. Not only that, they also stock the fridge with plenty of premium ingredients. Teresa arrives with her guests at the doorstep and pretends that the door is stuck, hoping to cancel the visit. Unexpectedly, Diana opens the door and welcomes them in. Teresa is taken aback, but reluctantly follows inside. To her surprise, the house has been rearranged. Tina demands to know where the red wine is, and Merle steps forward to open the wine cabinet. Henry recognizes the value of the wine, praises it, and admires it carefully. Tina keeps insisting that the wine is fake, accusing Teresa and the two children of deception. Merle mocks Tina for her ignorance. Henry is very pleased, praising Teresa for her deep background and exquisite taste. Teresa takes Merle aside to ask, and Merle simply states that everything was bought on sale at the supermarket, which makes Teresa very happy. With the issue resolved, she opens a bottle of wine to share with everyone. Frustrated that her plan failed, Tina is very discontent. Knowing Teresa is allergic to mangoes, she secretly switches the positions of the mango cake and the strawberry cake. Teresa is hosting clients. Meanwhile, Diana and Merle have already started eating cake. Suddenly, Teresa sees Diana and Merle fainting and quickly rushes to their side, urgently taking them to the hospital, anxiously pleading with the doctor to ensure the children are treated well. Distraught and blaming herself, Teresa waits by the children's bedside. Menard rushes over, but Hayden stops him, reassuring Menard that the children are fine and need rest. Teresa falls asleep on the table, and Menard quietly enters the room, picks up the sleeping Teresa from the bedside, and lays her on the adjacent bed. He silently sits by the bed. Teresa wakes up abruptly from a dream. Teresa blames herself, stating she didn't know her children were allergic to mangoes like her. In light of these events, Menard tentatively tries to confess to Teresa, mentioning he has a dedicated celebrity entry online. Perplexed, Teresa curiously asks if he is a wanted criminal. Menard attempts to explain further, but Sandra enters and reveals to Teresa that Menard is actually the owner of the company where Teresa works, the same person who falsely accused her in the past. Menard tries to explain his other identity. However, Teresa and Sandra don't listen, continuing to curse that CEO. Menard makes an excuse to leave. Menard goes to see Hayden, sharing his current situation and seeking his help. Hayden suggests that Menard should hide his identity as a CEO. Upon hearing that, Menard can only sigh. Tina comes again to arrange a job for Teresa, asking her to deliver a painting to the boss. Teresa recalls the past report incident, her face turning unpleasant. As she drives out, a person falls in front of her car. Though Teresa feels she didn't hit him, she stops to check. She touches the wound, sensing something amiss, and upon smelling it, realizes it's fake blood made of syrup. He demands compensation, but Teresa throws it away. The man scrambles to run and retrieve it. Meanwhile, Tina secretly follows her and slashes the painting. Back in the car, Teresa looks thoughtfully at the box containing the painting, discussing the recent events with Menard. Menard is having dinner at home. Diana opens a voicemail. In the voicemail, hearing Teresa addressing Menard, his parents are shocked, realizing their son already has a wife but didn't inform them. Noah questions when he will bring his wife home to meet them. Jennifer is contemplating what gift to give to Teresa. While they chat, the doorbell rings. Diana and Merle hear their mom's voice and rush to open the door. On the other side, Menard, done explaining to his parents, faces their scolding. However, upon the door opening, she sees her husband and the children. What will happen next? Will they have a perfectly happy ending?